Welcome back, Juventinita, to the Juventinita, back to Black and White Podcast. My name is Daniel Anegro, and we're live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Now, today we've kind of had a bunch of guests going to be coming on in the near future, and unfortunately, someone with some time constraints, they couldn't make it last night, so we have a fill-in who's also going to be on the season preview number 5. This is going to be the season. It's essentially going to be looking at the current transfers that we have done. Who do we like? Do we think it makes sense? What are they going to contribute this season, if anything? And maybe some of the players on our roster that we still look to get rid of or offload. And some of those names, a lot of you are going to be gone. A special number 6 comes to mind early. But Graeme, welcome to the show. Thank you for filling in. Hopefully we're not going to make this video too long. Kind of just want to give some extra content and abide by the 5 season previews that I've stated I'm going to do. So thank you for filling in. I appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
No worries. Happy to be here, mate.
Now, we look at how the season ended last year, and, depth was a huge talking point. We thought we had it. Then we realized we actually didn't have it. Just for the injuries, and then the players that actually had to step up and do something weren't there. So we come into the season really trying to rearrange our finances and get on with a better path, we hope, and get rid of some of the dead weight that we've supposed to be getting rid of in the past. But how have you seen? I know you've kind of taken a little bit step off from the transfer market, but what were your thoughts coming out of last year? What did we need to do? Who do you kind of see? Who would you see that for sure had to go?
Well, stating the obvious, Sami Khedira was one. I mean, injury prone. He's getting on in age. There's no pace in those legs whatsoever. I don't even know if he can walk properly. He had, and he's on big wages as well. So, like, if you could get rid of him, get rid of him. But then, we've had the whole, worldwide, carry on with, coronavirus, which just completely screwed every single thing up. Outside football, in football, the lot. So as soon as that happened, you start figuring out you're like, we're not going to be signing massive names. We're not going to be spending like a Delict transfer. We're not going to be able to sign a guy for 60, 70 million. There's no way that's happening. But I was happy to see Pjanic go for a start because everyone, myself included, everyone expected him to shine under Sarri. We were looking at Pjanic and thinking this is going to be our Jorginho. He's going to be the Jorginho role, and it never happened for whatever reason. So, and he hadn't been great for a while, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, he hadn't been. You never watched Juventus and thought Pjanic, man of the match, what a guy. And especially last season, he just failed to shine. So I was happy to see him go out. Admittedly, I didn't know that much about Arthur. From what I heard from Barcelona fans, apparently he's a very good player. But, the stereotype when it comes to South American players, particularly from Brazil, they can get a bit of an attitude problem, off the pitch. So hopefully we don't see much of that. I mean, we've seen that with Douglas Costa. He's an Brazilian. He's had a bit of carry on off the pitch. I mean, I think, parties and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So hopefully we don't see much of that with Arthur, but he looks like a good player. So, that looks like an upgrade immediately on Pjanic.
Well, unfortunately, his Ferrari knows a little bit too much about about that with the with a little bit of an accident that he had before. Exactly. So that really scared the shit out of me when I heard that news, because it just brings shades of Vidal. What he could have been, and I was like, I really hope that's not going to be the case now again. Just starting this new journey, and like you said, that was the first piece of business that we took care of. 72 plus 10, I believe it is, for Artur, and then 60 plus 5 for Pjanic. But yeah, I mean, that had done a lot of the heavy lifting on what Juve needed in that June period. it essentially, I believe it brought in that 180 million that kind of saved our ass to get. Well, I don't know if it necessarily saved our ass in terms of like being above or in the green, because obviously it's come out that we're in the negative 71.4 million. The club confirmed it themselves. So I want to see definitely the financials like explicitly, but so we didn't necessarily. So it in terms of it went from a catastrophe to maybe a reasonable number, and that is not really shocking. Like you said, with COVID, I mean, there's no revenue coming in. There's no ticket revenue. The TV deals are probably, I don't know if they're void per se, but I guarantee you there's going to be a renegotiation depending on what happens. And TV companies are going to say, well, you missed certain games, or there might not be as much. In terms of people spending money, I think is the problem. When there's a pandemic or financial crisis, people don't want to spend as much money, right? So you're not buying as many jerseys, you're not going to the stadium at all, you're not buying beers, you're not going out, and that just affects everything. So we started out with that, and I mean, I think it was the right call. Pjanic for me last 2 years has been not the same player that we got. I liked him when he started for the first few seasons. I think he really shined and was key to our team. And then once the heavy load got passed onto his shoulders, it was downhill really from there. And you lose, like you said, we're talking about Khedira. He was, influential in the team, at least at the beginning of when he came from Real Madrid on that free. So again, that's another player that was carrying a little bit of a load in the midfield. And when those cogs start falling back and you're not really getting any replacement, the weight on Pjanic's shoulder just gets heavier, and then, I mean, you see the tactics that were being used, that also factors into it as well, and teams could really just single him out every game, and you could get essentially down a man with him still being on the pitch. So that, I think, was good business. In terms of Kulusevski being bought in last season, was kept on loan at Parma, so now we get him back permanently. It was funny, all of the how shocked everyone was that we spent 44 million, I believe it was, and then to see the great run in last season. But the question I have for this is, we bring in someone who was predominantly a right winger, I would say, at Parma. How does that jive in this squad? I know me and Frankie talked about it in the last podcast. That isn't out yet, so obviously you wouldn't have seen it, Graeme. But where do you want to see him? I know he's going to be used, I think, in a 3-5-2 in this first game coming up, or at least that's what's being reported, and that's what he was used in the Novara game. But how do you see this fitting? I mean, we're getting a lot of right wingers. Like, we still have Bernardeschi, who it doesn't seem like we're going to unload. And same with Douglas Costa, right? So we're getting kind of a logjam in the squad at that position.
Well, I mean, we have a certain Portuguese superstar, but he likes to play in the left wing. You don't have a left wing in a 3-5-2. I mean, he doesn't like playing as a striker either. So I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, I was fully expecting us to stick with a 4-3-3. I mean, that's what the squad's built for. The squad was built for that as soon as Ronaldo arrived in 2018. We're spoiled for choice when it comes to wingers, and then we signed another winger in Kulusevski in January, and now we're gonna completely scrap that and go to 3-5-2. So it's gonna be interesting, to say the least. But I was expecting Kulusevski to compete for the right wing, because Douglas Costa's injured, Bernardeschi, less said the better. So I expected him to become a first team regular in that position, but evidently so we're not going to be playing 4-3-3. So
and I was shocked just as you were, and I'm assuming that Ronaldo's just going to be kind of a free roam. Like, I don't think he's in that hard striker position up top, because like you said, he clearly can't play in that position or doesn't like playing in that position, whatever you want to say. But yeah, no, it's just crazy. And then we have Piazza as well, who looked pretty good in preseason, but it seems like he's going to finally go out on loan. So that kind of moves another guy. But yeah, when you have two coaches, and I mean, maybe it wasn't done, per what's the word I'm looking for? Intentionally, but we've lowered our value on our players because, well, you look at Allegri and what he did is using anyone and making sure that it just worked and just got to the end line and won. Sarri was pretty set in what he wanted to do and used the same formation pretty much all the time once he found what he wanted to do. And then just players didn't step up, right? So we get into this position where you're keeping Bernardeschi. I know a lot of people on Twitter are saying, well, give him another year. Give him another year. He what could go wrong? It's not like his value could stale anymore, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So what do you think about thoughts like that? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
what do you think about that?
I've heard rumours that apparently Bernardeschi could be played as a right wing back.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? Since when did Bernardeschi look like a player you could play in defence? I mean, I know the argument is, oh well, he's further away from the opposition goal, so that's a good thing. But I mean, we say the same thing about Juan Cuadrado, and Cuadrado is, I'm sorry, he's useless defensively, absolutely useless, because at the end of the day, you are playing an offensive-minded player that's a winger as a freaking full-back wing-back. Yeah. So he doesn't have a defensive bone in his body. That would be the exact same thing for Bernardeschi. The sad thing with Bernardeschi is, most of us were very excited when he first signed. He looked like a good player in his debut season, 17-18. I mean, he even scored from a free kick and scored a couple of goals. So, we're thinking, this is superb. We've got a talented Italian in the squad. This is great. And then he just kind of tailored off. He disappeared. And he hasn't had enough big moments for me. He hasn't had enough medium-sized moments. He just sort of disappears. And he's had more bad games than good games. And this is going to be, I think this is going to be either his third or fourth season at the club. He's had the time. He's had plenty of time to break through.
Yeah, and I think, I would agree with you, it's time to just cut the dead weight and give him a new opportunity. But with COVID, I just think that's why no one has stepped up to give him that opportunity, because you can't really waste that money on a hope and a prayer. It's too valuable right now, the Euro. So you want to keep as much money as you can towards your squad and kind of make it work. That's why I think we haven't seen those offers in at all. And that's unfortunate. I mean, it's something that now we have to, force something or take money back or take another player back to reduce. That's just something you don't want to do when you want to have the cards in your hand. You don't want to be dealing with other people who have the reins on the deal. So we kind of got lucky, that Barca's in the situation they were with the Pjanic deal. I think that's the only reason why that happened, is more because Barca's need than ours. But let's see what happens. I mean, again, Douglas Costa, the same thing, injury prone. Who's going to take that chance? So you get into it, and now you're going to have extra players on the squad. You're paying more money. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll make a breakthrough, but that's just, again, a hope and a wish for those guys. Some of the other, players that we've gotten rid of more recently, obviously Matuidi and now Higuain, both going to Inter Miami after their contract was terminated, first and foremost. But I think it was kind of, for Matuidi, I don't think the contract was that big of a hit. I'm thinking around. I got my sheet somewhere, but I believe it was only like $3.5 million. So it's not a huge loss per se. The Higuain one, with that $13.8 million windfall or loss that's going to be accumulated. I mean, that's kind of where you get your pain from. But what do you think of that whole situation with these two players? Obviously, they had to go. But again, no one's really pushing for them. 33 and 32-year-old players.
Yeah, I mean, you got two players that were on the wrong end of 30 or getting close to that. Matuidi was a player that served his purpose. You know, he was never. Everyone knew he wasn't a technical player, so he wasn't going to be the guy with the assists and, you know, scoring goals and, you know, all the attractive, you know, sexy play in football.
Right.
You know, he was just basically the guy that he was your engine. You know, he would, unfortunately, you know, it would infuriate me at times when that engine would take him into the opposition box, and then all of a sudden he's the guy taking a shot on goal, and you're like, I screamed at the TV so many times. I'm like, Matuidi, stay the hell back. Don't go forward. Don't attack. Just stay back and tackle. That's all I want to see from you. And I believe when, you know, Juventus, when they renewed his contract, maybe a year ago or whenever it was, I'm sure I read that he took a reduction in wages. So that's a fortunate thing, if true.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. You know,
no, I do agree. I do remember that, Graeme. I believe he did cut it, so it wasn't necessarily something huge on his end.
So that was a benefit, and by the looks of things, we've replaced him with a younger player that does the same role in McKennie. You know, he's a player that looked good in the pre-season friendly. So, you know, maybe we'll see more of the same from him, and it'll turn out to be an absolute masterstroke.
Yeah, exactly. And let's get into that next. Weston McKennie, I mean, did that come out of left field or what? I mean, I woke up and I think, you know, Monblano, Agresti, Romano, all those guys were just literally, their head exploded when that happened because they got found out that no one knew that was coming into roost. So, yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of talk on and praise from a lot of the American media as well as talking heads, either on ESPN or the coach of the U.S. team. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I agree with what you said. He has looked pretty good in preseason. I think it was $3 million plus about 18. So when I look at that deal, and I've mentioned this a few times now, it almost scares me that we're lining up some kind of we can flip it. I don't know if that was your first thought when you heard of the deal, but kind of give us what you thought when that news hit the docket in the morning.
Well, my initial thought was, who the hell's McKennie? I'd never heard of him. You know, that's no disrespect. I mean, I don't follow German football. I believe he came from Schalke, so you know, as far as I'm aware, Schalke don't even play in the Europa League, so I'm not going to come across him. You know, so I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm thinking it's an American player. Juventus have changed the badge. They've got rid of the word Juventus in the badge. They're trying to crack the American market. We've got an American player. You know, that's what it's going to be. And then I watched him against Novara, and I thought, you know what? Maybe there's something to this kid because he's in his early 20s, and I like it when we sign guys that are closer to 20 rather than being closer to 30, because you've got more longevity in them, and you know their value will increase if it turns out you want to sell them at some point. You know, where if you sign a guy at 30, you know his value is only going to go down. It's only going to decrease. So you know, as soon as I saw that, I was quite happy that the age of him, and it's an initial loan deal as well, and it doesn't look too expensive to like buy him outright. You know, with the option to buy at the end of the season. So overall, I'm happy with that. I mean, if it doesn't work out, then it's not going to be much money spent if you have to buy him out if you're forced to.
Yeah, and he's a young player, so you can still move him, right? Like those pieces. That's what, again, I agree with you with the young players, and I believe our squad average age dropped about 2 years almost approximately. So I mean now we're at but I believe it was 27.4 is the average age. So that's what you want to see happening. And yeah, you want to invest in players that you have an easier out if they don't go well, because you're gonna have teams that are way more inclined to pick up a player who's maybe 22 than 23, whereas we've tried to get rid of players that are 32 turning 33, 34, right? So that's, I think, a smart move, and I hope that continues. Now, Juve's always been a club that has not really prided itself on its youth academy. I know only recently we've started talking about, oh, well, we want to have this, club that can develop players and bring young guys in. And we picked up, I believe, a young guy from Chelsea. I believe his name, Samuel Illing Jr. For an undisclosed fee on September 1st, as well as a couple other young players. But what do we think about this kind of change? Do we believe it, first of all? And because we've seen the same old song and dance, I can just name you a few players. Obviously, Muratore went for 7 million to Atalanta. Mavididi went to Montpellier for 6.3. Pablo Moreno, who was apparently someone who was touted as a superstar when we got him from Barcelona. And actually, the player Pereira that we got rid of, I was actually fond of when I did see him in preseason. Now, again, we shipped this guy out to Man City for about 10 million. And then kind of the procession in September where we had Zanamakia go, Perin went because he's got no space. Romero left because apparently we don't think he's a good enough defender, so keep loaning him out. I think that's actually a good move for him to go to Atalanta because they've been looking for for not an upgrade, but some depth there. So hopefully he gets some playing time. They're going to be in the Champions League. And, hopefully that's good for him. Olivieri goes to Empoli. Del Favero goes to Pescara, the goalkeeper. And Castaños goes to Frosinone. So, again, kind of just an offloading of guys that were not necessarily rumored to be in the first team, but, they definitely don't have a place now. So.
I mean, the way I see it, unfortunately, Juventus, like most other clubs, they use their youth system as pawns for the transfer market. Just for plus Valenza, you'll loan a guy out, he'll get some first team experience for a mid-table club, that'll put his value up, and then the club can sell him on for a profit. I mean, look at an English club like Chelsea. I mean, they have had so much issues with their youth system because they had so many players brought in, no intention whatsoever of playing them in the first team, and they just wanted to sell them on for profit. Eventually, they got done for that, and they had a transfer ban. But I think that's just the mentality from most clubs. I mean, if you want to talk about youth systems, it's going to be clubs that rely on a youth system to make a profit. I mean, look at Ajax. Ajax will always be a selling club, but they have to produce these guys like De Ligt and De Jong, players like that, to sell them on for a profit to bring money into the club. And a club like Juventus will never rely on their youth system, unfortunately, to a degree. I mean, everyone was excited about Moise Kean, and we know how that worked out. I mean, fair dues, the guy's had he's had a bit of a bad time, to say the least, in England. But when he played for Juventus, he looked like a talent. But unfortunately, the club had to make money from somewhere, so he had to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if necessarily he's going to want to move from Everton because it maybe obviously for playing time, but it looks like they're stocking up on players. They made the two big moves there. Obviously, Chelsea, another one of them with Havertz and Timo Werner. So really, only a couple teams kind of really making splashes in the market. It was Alan and I can't remember who the other player went that. But it was a pretty big name player. Yeah. So, definitely they're making splashes in England, and I believe they knocked Tottenham off their first game. Man U lost, so suck it, Jesse. My buddy's a Man U fan, so I just have to say that. Yeah, but definitely. They have.
The Premier League teams, when we're talking about the Mercato and the transfer window, it's no coincidence. The only teams that can spend big are the English clubs because they've got that massive TV contract behind them. You don't see anything from Barcelona, Real Madrid, or PSG, any of these clubs. No one is spending big amounts of money outside of England.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that definitely makes the difference. So, I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk in Serie A about what what needs to be done. There's been a lot of, I don't know if you saw that really, the new Parma owner with that really cringy welcome to the club. Oh man, that was hard to watch. But I mean, yeah, I hope that there's more money brought in, and maybe that's kind of what revitalizes. I know there's a program where they want to start building new stadiums. The laws have been changed a little bit to make that easier, and I'm not quite sure where the massive company that was looking to spend, I believe, a couple billion to buy a share of the TV. I'm not sure if it was the TV rights or if it was actually a part of the league, but there was a few companies investing. Back when I listened to, I believe it was Lazio Lounge, they were talking about their new stadium, and there is a couple companies looking to buy or invest in Serie A clubs, not just the ones that have stadiums, but the ones that are really looking to improve. So hopefully that could, do something for the league, because once that gets rolling and, you get that bigger TV deal, like you said, it allows you to, bring in the revenue that isn't there when something like COVID happens.
Yeah.
Which who knows when will happen again, or when there's a stoppage or whatnot, but hopefully not for a really long time. But yeah, that's kind of the aspiration of the league. Now, kind of we'll wrap it up with a final talk on Pirlo, because I'm not quite sure. I don't think we talked about it when we were on the last podcast. But yeah. So what do you think? And obviously, there's been talks about De Sciglio coming in. I know we talked before we officially started, but De Sciglio might even get it. And I know Al's been saying, yeah, Pellegrini's going to win that job in a few weeks, and already in the first match he might lose it to De Sciglio. So I don't know about that one, but yeah, what do we think? Like you said earlier, 3-5-2. I was thinking again, like you, 4-4-3, kind of keep it similar, where you have kind of help from the fullbacks to possibly move into a 3 when you go forward. But yeah, what are your thoughts about, obviously getting the license, the thoughts he's talked about in his press conference and what he said so far, Graeme?
It's Pirlo. Keep calm. The man is a bearded genius. The man is the Messiah. He can do no wrong. Does not matter. It doesn't matter. He could play Cristiano Ronaldo as a goalkeeper. He can do no wrong. All right. But I mean, like, in all seriousness, when I saw the news, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I mean, Pirlo. I wanted Sarri gone. Right? I wanted Sarri gone after that season. I mean, there was just no progress whatsoever. And with the things he was coming out in the press and saying, you're like, good God, this guy can't be the Juventus manager. And then we get announced that Pirlo's the manager, and I'm like, oh, that's fine, because he was the under-20 manager for a cup of coffee. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
He must have. Maybe he's got some kind of experience behind him, and then it turns out he doesn't even have a license. And I'm just like, oh my God. But really, albeit it was a poor opposition in the pre-season friendly in Novara. But we looked better. We looked a hell of a lot better than we did under Sarri. I mean, we were passing the ball quicker. There was good transitions. It looked good. So if Pirlo can get us playing like that, that would be superb. I mean, maybe I'm not gonna begin comparing him to guys like Zinedine Zidane or Pep Guardiola, because first of all, that's not fair. Zidane had so much experience behind him from the B team, the under-19s, whatever it was, and then an assistant coach to Ancelotti at Real Madrid. So he had bags of experience behind him. Pep Guardiola, bags of experience behind him with the youth system. But maybe it's the same effect. Like, you see it quite often now where, like, former big-name players like Zinedine Zidane, and they can tell a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm putting you on the bench. I know you don't want to be a substitute, but I need to keep you fresh for this big game coming up. And they do as they're told, because Zinedine Zidane, the guy's won World Cups, Champions Leagues. Pirlo falls into that category. Unfortunately, he never won the Champions League with us, but he's won that several times. He's won a World Cup with Italy. So the guy has a lot of weight behind his words. So if he tells you to do something, and 9 times out of 10, some of these players have grown up and they're like, holy shit, this is Pirlo. I'm going to do what he tells me to do. So he's got that backing behind him. Whereas a guy like Sarri, they're like, good God, is this guy going to go away and have another cigarette for the umpteenth time before he tells what to do? So he's got a lot of weight behind what he tells his players. So that's going to be in his benefit. But it just worries me when I see all these like tinkering formations, like 3-5-2. Apparently, from conversations I've had, it's going to switch to possibly like a 4-4-2 kind of style, because like, you know, people have said to me that Danilo is going to be a tucked in right back, and he's going to be like a centre back when we're in defence, I believe, and then it transitions out wide when we're in attack or something like that. Yeah. So we will find out, but I mean, I was worried when all those rumours about Danilo as a centre back, and I'm like, oh my God, Pirlo's been on the wine again.
Maybe he got a little bit too involved with his wine company that he has in Italy. He had a couple bottles when he was having that idea. No, but if you look at his thesis, right, and I haven't read all of it, so I'm not gonna BS to you guys saying I know exactly how he wants us to play, but from the pieces that I've been hearing, obviously in the news and on social media, you see that he really wants to have the same kind of style that Sarri was trying to implement. Now, they're two different characters, right? Like, he wants high possession or quick recovery of the ball, high possession, pass the ball around quickly and hold on to it. And so, yeah, like you said, exactly. So I don't think Sarri was maybe in the offensive mind of thinking of a 3-5-2 in attack, but he definitely pulled it back into either a 4-5-1 or a 4-5-2 when we played in defense, because Ronaldo's not coming back. We know that 100%. But when you look at that, you think, well, shit, is it now maybe just a more respected coach? And like you said, I think everyone can agree the things that we lacked even after Allegri: one, motivation; two, a respect for the manager, I would say. And that's really what the difference, it seems like, what it is right now, because you're seeing this new vigor, this new energy put into the club. And you'd think when you're hearing all these similar kind of buzzwords and phrases that Sarri was trying to implement, and then you see kind of the motivation when you watch the Novara game, it's like, well, shit, that was easy. Someone hit the fucking easy button. I don't know if you know Staples, but they hit an easy button, and that was it. But I mean, hopefully we can carry that through. I'm still hoping. Not hoping, but I'm still expecting a tough start of the season, because I think teams, even more so this season, with La Decima or the 10th on the horizon. I think even more now with Merda making the upgrades they have, with Milan making the upgrades they've done, even a bigger target that was already there, but I think even more of a motivation to stop us. So I think team, you know, with not having let's say a break, but not also coming back after 5 weeks of not doing anything. You know, there's been a camp now for all these teams. There's been changes, whether it be small or big. So, just what do you think? Was it really that simple? I mean, I know Conte, when Allegri was on the way out, there was rumors that he was going to come in, and who knows if that was true or not. But the motivation factor just seems to be the key, really, from what it's looking like. Don't you say?
Sorry, my connection went there.
No worries. Go ahead.
What was the question? Sorry, you were talking about Conte and Allegri.
Yeah, just the motivation of the squad. Was it really just that easy? Is that just what we needed?
Well, I think it had, like, there was seasons where we had really, really stiff competition, and then it was like suddenly followed by like a walk in the park, like 18-19 for Ronaldo's debut. I mean, I don't know what the hell happened that season. That was just far, far, far too easy. And you know, there is a bit of complacency sometimes within a squad. You know, I mean, I think we had that in 18-19. There was so much complacency because results were coming so easy, and then you go into the Champions League and you have a shit show like the 2-1 defeat to Man United, which should have been a wake-up call. But obviously it wasn't with the way things went. And last season, nothing worked. It just didn't work. Sarri was trying Sarri ball from the start. I think he gave up on that, or the players just didn't seem interested. Something happened either way. And when that wasn't working, Sarri just reverted us to this awful, poor version of what Allegri had us playing. So I think this season it's going to be a really tough season by comparisons to the previous seasons, because Merda have improved, Milan amazingly have improved, Napoli actually haven't improved as far as I'm aware. They've not really done much. Atalanta are a dark horse. They just come out of nowhere, and we're back to the normal fixture list with Lazio. And last season, Lazio, albeit they threw in the till for the Europa League to be able to compete with us, a bit like Napoli did. And under a regular schedule, they're a tough opposition, because if they do a Conte style, and they focus on the one league, the one cup, they're a tough team to deal with. So, we can't afford for a slow start. So whatever Pirlo does, he needs to get us hitting the ground running, getting these wins after wins, because when you drop points, you actually get a bit of afraid and think, oh shit, we've dropped 3 points or 2 points here.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Merda are going to play tomorrow, so it's going to be a tough season. That's for sure.
And especially like you said, he doesn't have that. I mean, obviously he's had that experience as a player, but now he's the coach, Pirlo. So dropping 3 points when, like you said, a team plays the next day, that offers something to think about and how you're going to motivate your players. Like you said, the one thing too that I'm looking at is the first time he's got to bench Ronaldo. That's really what I'm gonna be looking at. I want to see how that's going to happen and what really goes down. Not really just to stir controversy, but I'm interested to see where the respect lies in the dressing room now. And with Lazio, like you said, there's going to be more rest now. So now the games aren't every 3 days. And if Lazio says, well, fuck it to the Champions League basically, and goes out early, they have the possibility of winning, right? So it's definitely going to be an interesting season. And like you said, Napoli. I don't know why their fans seem to defend them with the money being a problem, but I don't know. They just seem to be selling off. I hope this guy that they signed, I think it was from, where was it? Red Bull Leipzig, I believe. The striker, Red Bull Salzburg. That they spent, I believe, 50 or 60 million euro on. I hope he's the real deal, because that's a lot of money to put into a young player, especially coming into COVID and all of that. So we'll see how that plays out. I think I definitely agree. I'm actually going to be having a Napoli fan on the preview of the Juve Napoli game, so we'll see how that goes. But
that'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see what he's got to say, what he thinks of his team, because I think they're in for a down year. That's my personal opinion, with all these teams on the way up. And actually, when you come back on the next podcast with Albert, we're gonna actually do a prediction, and we're gonna talk about the top 8. We're gonna see who we think is gonna be in that obviously top 4 for Champions League, but also some of the spots and who gets relegated. So for now, guys, we're gonna cap it off right here, I think. Thanks, Graeme, for helping me out. We're gonna see you soon, and yeah, guys, just continue all the support. It's awesome. We're hitting over 100 views on the newer videos now. It's crazy. Just I got my eternal gratefulness to Pippo and Zaghi, because that post and then obviously the ensuing videos that came out just have suddenly blown up. So it's awesome. Check out Graham's work on his blogspot, Black and White 1897.
Yeah.
.blogspot.com. Check him out, and hopefully we can get this guy to do some content in the future. He's got a shiny new logo, a shiny new banner. Obviously Albert's got some new stuff, some new threads as well. Who's going to be on next? But guys,
it's all Albert's fault.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So maybe you guys can convince them, drop it in the comments, and let us know what you guys think about the transfers we've made so far and the expectations coming October 5th. I'm not having any expectations, me personally, because it's literally pick a name out of a hat season. Especially when Monblano, I believe it was 3 days ago, said that João Felix has a possible 88% chance of coming in on loan. I don't know if you saw that one, Graham, but it's literally, it's
I'll
literally
believe
just
it when
this
I see
time.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and yeah, you know where to find me at Juventinita, DAL, both Instagram, Twitter. Pretty much every platform that streams, including YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. So, as always, if you could leave a 5-star, if you believe that's what we deserve, or a rating at all, actually, I'll say that. And yeah, drop some comments. Let's get this conversation going. I know it's been moving in the positive direction. But as always, fino alla fine, forza Juventus, guys. Ciao, ciao.